Anyway, let's get to the last question. And it's a question that I personally saved for last. The Raptors lost to the Sacramento Kings after a controversial 3 by Terrence Ross was waved at the buzzer. Can we finally say that there's truth to the matter that the Raptors are getting jobbed? We'll start with you, and then...
Yeah, I mean, definitely that game, yeah, they definitely did. I mean, Terrence Ross, you can say, oh, if the clock started late, I mean, come on, you have to give him that 3. Like, he's not, like, that shot was, the Raptors were definitely robbed. I feel like it was on time. He got the ball in bounds, he shot it, it went in. I don't think it was late. I really feel that the Raptors were robbed. Dwayne Casey was livid. Dwayne Casey was beside himself.
That moment when you realize on national television he was swearing.
He was beside himself.
Yeah.
He was very animated.
Yeah, like everyone should go back, catch the audio of Dwayne Casey swearing at the refs.
Yeah, go to Terrence Ross game time shot, and yeah, you'll see it. It was really bad. Like,
I'm trying.
The Raptors were definitely robbed.
I'm trying really hard, every time something like this comes around for the Raptors, to say this is a thing that happens to everybody, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
The Raptors
listen,
the Raptors get the short end of the stick way too much.
I'm not saying there's an inherent bias. I'm not saying that the Raptors are getting disrespected. I'm not saying there's a controversy. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy.
There is.
What I'm saying is,
Mike,
this happens a little too often. For example, the Eastern Conference Finals. Remember how it took the Raptors literally 48 minutes to get a foul shot between game 2 and 3? Not between games 2 and 3, between games 3 and 4. Right? These are things that happen. Right?
Yeah.
Remember when the Raptors were facing the Brooklyn Nets in the Raptors' first playoff series in like 5-6 years, and the Raptors didn't get in game 1. Didn't get no foul calls in the fourth quarter in game 1. Mm-hmm. I'm trying really hard. Like, these things don't happen to other teams.
They don't.
They don't happen to other teams.
Bias against the Raptors.
I'm not trying to say there's inherent bias.
There is.
I'm just
saying. American media shows us every day when they talk about the Philadelphia 76ers who do nothing over the Raptors. They do. I mean, there is a bias, or like the Milwaukee Bucks. There is a bias.
I'm just stating
how does New York?
I'm just stating facts.
Get more coverage than Toronto.
I'm trying really hard, but I'm just stating facts. It's really weird.
Media angle and officiating angle. The Raptors are robbed. They don't want a Canadian team. They're league wide. There is, even when they're talking about the Raptors come up that the Raptors play this team. I see it in any sports show, whether it's on Fox, ESPN, whatever network it's on. They will always talk about a guy or a player on the other team.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
They'll exhaust that whole topic segment with the other team. You won't even hear. You may hear DeRozan's name once, and the rest of it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think that from a media standpoint, there's a bias, but I think it's a biase because when you're in New York, you're going to talk about the New York teams. When you're in Charlotte, you're going to talk about the Charlotte
I'm saying when they're just having
teams.
league-wide conversations.
Right.
They'll still even. No, I'm not even just talking about local. They'll still talk about other, but they won't give the Raptors their due. And it's wrong. It's a holistic problem, media standpoint, officiating standpoint, just everything. It's a systemic problem.
I don't think it happens on a national scale that badly.
Yes,
I mean,
it does.
Charles Barkley will literally go out of his way to talk about Raptors.
Certain people are better,
right,
but I'm saying overall.
I don't think.
Yes, I'm telling you, I see it every day.
You know, I want to be very careful here because there's two ways to play this. Because when when we go to Toronto media, when we talk about Toronto media, what's the 3 things that people will talk about? The Leafs, Raptors, Blue Jays, right? Because those are Toronto teams, right?
Okay, I'm not talking about
I will agree.
I'm not talking about regional markets. I'm talking about what a national network is covering because they're covering everything,
right?
Like that's what I'm saying.
Let me finish the point. I do agree that the Raptors regional market does tend to talk about other teams better than other regional markets, but it is a thing because I think the Toronto do have an obligation to other teams, especially in the NHL who are Canadians, to talk about like other teams. But in those regional markets, it's not a fault because other regional markets like Toronto do it. From a national scale, I don't see it as bad from a TNT standpoint. From an ESPN standpoint, they're catering to people, right? So from a media standpoint, there's definitely inherent bias, but I think it's not because of the Raptors are so much, as opposed to you're trying to cater to your audience. Your audience is not ESPN. ESPN does not get shown in Canada. So why would they talk about the Raptors if they're not being shown in Canada? This is why I have a problem with lots of people coming up to me and be like, oh, ESPN never talks about the Raptors. Well, ESPN doesn't get shown in Canada. It's not broadcast in Canada.
No, but enough.
So
no, but
you
still,
can't. So why would they cater to the Raptors?
There's still a team in the league, though. That's the thing.
But
the NBA.
But if the ESPN
Charlotte
isn't catered to Canada, then why
ESPN is based? The headquarters is in Bristol, Connecticut. There is no team in Connecticut. Yet they still will talk about the New York Knicks. They will talk about those places.
Again, that's their market because they're most shown in New York. So they talk about the Knicks the most. It's not rocket science, right? It's not hard to grasp it. If ESPN doesn't get shown in Canada, why would they spend lots and lots of time on Canadian teams? Hell, why would you spend even a little time
Sportsnet, Sportsnet.
I know Sportsnet goes out of their way to do it, but that's because we as Canadians have the common sense to like other teams as well. So it tends to get a little different.
Lack of common sense. That's one point.
Right. So
listen, bias.
Lots of Americans voted for Donald Trump to be the president of the United States.
Even more didn't vote.
I call it, or even more didn't vote.
46% of eligible voters didn't vote.
Yeah, so I call it like how I see it. There's some Americans who lack common sense. No offense. Sorry. I call it like how I see it. But my point is that when you're not shown in Canada, why would you talk about Canadian stuff?
Yeah. Right?
Even though you are national, you're not shown in Canada. I think episode 8 of the Fan Night Experience, I mentioned this. I was like, there's such an inferiority complex about Canadians with ESPN and these national American telecasts. NBC. They're not shown in Canada. Why do you care so much?
NBC is shown in Canada.
Yeah, but they're very rarely shown. And like NBC Canada is not NBC, network. Right? Like, yeah.
They have it in Canada, yeah.
Yeah, NBC Canada is not NBC. BET Canada is not BET. I'm sorry. These are facts of life that people have to deal with, right? If you're not shown in Canada, you're not going to talk about Canada.
Though, all of them.
ESPN is not shown in Canada.
No, I'm saying the other BET, those are shown in
No, but they're not. BET's not. First off, it's not a sports show, so it's an example, but it's not. It's a bare bones version of what BET is.
In America, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? NBC is a bare bones version. NBC Canada is a bare bones version of NBC.
In US.
Exactly. So
but my point
ESPN and TNT are not shown in Canada. The way to get even cover, like even a little semblance of what's going on in America, if you are in Canada, without doing something like going on YouTube, is to go on Raptors TV and listen to the starters, who by the way are Canadian.
Yeah, but they still show NBA Game Time. They show all the American. Yes, it's not all the same. They show most of the same programming that NBA TV US does.
I mean, like, did the Raptors get screwed? Yes, they got screwed. Is there but like to say that there is a conspiracy?
No, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm saying that there's a bias, and I don't know if it's a hesitation or reservation to showing the Raptors cover. Like, if a team is doing well, it doesn't matter if they're not in your country. If they're in your league, you have to cover them. If they are relevant and they are making things happen, which the Raptors have done for the last 3 years.
My point. My point is, if you are not broadcasted in a certain area, then you're not going to get fans from that area. So why talk about things that those fans won't listen to, and B, that other fans won't care about? Because ESPN is shown in LA, so you will talk about the Lakers if they're doing well. ESPN is shown in Texas, so you will talk about the Dallas Cowboys if they're doing well. ESPN is shown in New York. You talk about New York things. Boston. You talk about Boston things. But if it's not shown in Toronto, if it's not shown in Calgary, if it's not shown in Manitoba, why would you talk about things that are going on in Calgary, Manitoba, Toronto, Montreal?
We're not talking for Toronto's the only Canadian market in the NBA.
No, I know.
And we're saying that we need a bit more tangible coverage. We need more.
But it's not shown in Canada. It's not. So why do you care about their coverage if it's not shown in Canada?
Because they are like
listen. I go on YouTube and I see
team in the league and they need coverage.
I go on YouTube and I see
an ESPN game in Toronto last Wednesday. The game against against Golden State. That was a nationally televised.
But because why? Because Golden State is a market in the United States that people in San Francisco care about. So when they go to face Toronto, it is a nationally televised game. No, but it's not because Toronto is the draw. It's because we have Sportsnet, and we have Sportsnet, and we have TSN, and I like Sportsnet and TSN. They're fine. Matt Devlin is a good commentator, but they're not. The Raptors aren't the draw because listen, we go on YouTube and we see ESPN that way, right? Sometimes ESPN clips get circulated around. We see ESPN that way. I'm talking about full-fledged television ratings. ESPN. If you're not shown in Canada, why? Unless they change their system up to include internet numbers. When it comes to television ratings, Canada's television rating with ESPN is 0 because it's not shown in Canada. So why would ESPN or TNT or NBC will talk about stuff, right? Why? They wouldn't, right? And so there's no bias. It's a bias. Okay, it's a bias, but it's a bias with reason. That's my point.
Very shallow reason. I mean, it's still a team in the league.
It's a business. That's
my point. Is that it's a team in the league, and and not even just a team. They're one of the better teams in their top 3 teams in their conference. You have to show them.
Listen, in a perfect world, I agree with you, but I'm just saying from a business perspective, and let's say you only have an hour to talk about a team per show. I'm going to
contact John Skipper and let him know, the president of ESPN. ESPN Corporation, Disney, on the Disney board.
If they get shown in Canada, the problem is, and one of the reasons is that TSN is technically a subsidiary of ESPN. Yeah. So one of the issues is ESPN
they're owned by the
shown,
same company.
Yeah.
And they basically show all of ESPN's programs on this. So we do get ESPN really.
We get TSN, which isn't ESPN, and it's a very different direction. If you really look at it, it's a very different direction. Hockey, right? It's a very different direction that TSN takes as opposed to ESPN. So
we don't have this. Obviously, we have our own broadcast. But I'm saying they show a lot of PTI, First Take, His and Hers. They show NBA Tonight. All those are shown on TSN.
But it's shown on TSN like 3 and 4, and they're not the mainstay sometimes. Not all the time.
No, they're shown on.
Not all the time.
2.
They're not
shown on 2.
But never 1. Never channel 26.
No, PTI is shown on 1.
Yeah. PTI is the only show that gets shown on 1. But the whole thing is it's a simulcast, right? So again, it's not like Mike Wilbon. Yeah, it's not. They are showing
PTI is live.
It's live, but I'm saying like it's a simulcast. So like it gets picked up and then sent to a place as a receiver. It's not like it's like how they do the Super Bowl in Canada. Right?
Yes.
That's why we don't get the
simultaneous program substitution.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not exactly, and I think we've gone like literally 12 minutes explaining how broadcasting works, but it's a great discussion, and it's a discussion It's a discussion that I get very passionate about. Is that Mike Wilbon, when you simulcast, doesn't know it's being simulcast. He just knows his Nielsen market, and his Nielsen market is America. So he's not going to talk about, unless people care about it.
DSTV, Africa, right? They get ESPN.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not going to just go on a tangent and start talking about hip life. He's not going to go on a tangent about those things, right? Because it's a simulcast, so it's not shown. It's not shown to him that more people watch, and so therefore, why will he go out of his way to talk about something unless people are talking about it? And you know what? To their credit is that sometimes when the Raptors do really well and surprise people, they talk about it. For example, there was a lot of coverage on the Raptors when the Raptors made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. There was a lot of American coverage. So this is my point. There's a bias, but it's a business. And in the business, they talk about American things. And when you have 1 hour per show to talk about certain things, you're going to focus on things that you want to talk about. We're a Toronto-centric show, so we focus on Toronto stuff.
Not really, a lot of
right. And because we do have Baltimore ties and we have Maryland ties, we do talk about American things. But it's not like if you were to put us to a corner, what we talk about: Toronto FC, Toronto Raptors, Blue Jays, and very rarely, because they're not very good, the Leafs. Am I right?
Yeah, but no, we still talk about
we still talk about it.
Time to everything. I'm pretty like.
We still talk about.
We talk about NBA as holistically. We don't talk about just Raptors.
No, we talk about stuff, right?
But we can go some weeks at a time without talking about necessarily Raptors-centric topics.
Yeah, we talk about stuff, but like,
do.
I'm not saying, but we also have a market in America.
Yes.
Right? And again, we're going, now it's been 15 minutes.
All right, so
let's wrap this up. But